You're provided with your own phone and you're given a laptop so you can pre-order all your meals from the comfort of your bed. It's also highly likely you'll soon be able to keep in touch with family and friends through special video technology too. Now, what do you suppose I'm talking about? A hotel, an airline's first or business class section? No. I've just been describing life inside one of our jails, Wayland, in Norfolk. This is simply ludicrous. A jail is a place for punishment and rehabilitation, not a gentleman's club. There are 105 prisoners in that jail serving life terms, so it's clear they will have committed some high-level offences, probably including murder or rape. Making life behind bars more comfortable than it is on the outside is, in itself, criminal. You may titter.
Sorry, Nick. I'm sorry.
I don't know.
I can't. It's criminal to give somebody a device that's not linked to the internet to tell the poor prison warder what he wants for his dinner. By the way, Nick, you're on very, very sticky wicket because today they released the figures for assaults in prisons, and 7,000 prison officers were assaulted last year to June, and the number of assaults and self-harming incidents has gone up to 21,000. So in my view, anything prison officers can do to make things quieter in prison, to keep prisoners happy and less violent is all right by me.
Well, let's not lock the door at night then. Why are we doing something so as inhumane as locking the door at night?
That's not my point at all. It's clear to me from your cue that you've actually, probably even when your kids were small, have never been in full 24-hour charge of an unruly toddler or a person, let alone a dangerous prisoner. Right. And if you were, you would be using every tool at your disposal.
So we
I'm not saying
calm.
featherbed them. They're in prison. If this helps keep Wayland Prison, as the governor said, calmer, then what on earth are we complaining about?
Rachel, do you know in that prison, when they did an inspection of that prison, they found 500 litres of alcohol, which is enough to actually...
What's that got to do with the fact that you can order your dinner?
Well, because that's the point. They're ordering their own booze as well. They're not supposed to be drinking inside, and yet they can. They're taking drugs.
I'm afraid that's a separate problem.
Why is it separate?
Rachel, you can't...
They're not ordering alcohol from prison warders.
We're talking about the lifestyle that they have inside of prison,
Rachel, you can't run prisons on the back foot. What can we do to make prison... Now, I'm also saying you can't put them in a room with a flickering light bulb and tie them with... I'm not suggesting that for one second. But prison has to be seen. As much as it's rehabilitation, it is punishment. And there will be people watching this programme right now who would dream of being able to lie in their bed, order some food, have a phone right by their bed and possibly video technology to see their friends.
What, whilst deprived of their liberty?
Well, that's because they might have murdered...
That is the essential punishment.
Because... And we're talking lifers here. So you probably have murdered or been a rapist or probably... Now, obviously, they don't say who's in there for security reasons. They're not going to tell us who they are.
I'll deal with you in a second.
You'll deal with me in a second.
Can I just ask one question?
I'll look forward to being dealt with, obviously.
If this system did lead to, let's say, the halving of assaults... of assaults in prison, would you be in favour of it?
Well, let's come back to that.
Would you be in favour of it?
I want to say a few things. So first of all, you're damn right you should be losing your liberties if you're in prison for killing someone or raping someone or anything like that. And to your point, I'm not sure how pressing a button to order a cheese sandwich at lunch is going to reduce assaults in prison. But what I would say is, in my former life, my teenage years were spent on a very big estate, and my then boyfriend was in and out of prison more times than a yo-yo was up and down. His brother was in prison, and very recently his sister has just been released from prison. I can't think of one of those people that I know that has not been in prison multiple times. They used to quite enjoy it in there. Most of their friends was in there. They certainly did not fear going back in there. So I know from personal experience, albeit many years ago, that a great number of people, and when you look at the reoffending rate, prison can't be that bad if people are really not that bothered about going back in it a second and third and fourth time. Prison absolutely should be an uncomfortable environment for you to be in. You should absolutely want to leave there, never want to see it ever again. Exactly. And Af was shaking her head, and I'm sure you'll disagree with me, but prison is not supposed to be, I'm not going to use the word holiday camp because I think that's a bit thingy, but it's not supposed to be somewhere that you're chilling out in the comfort of pressing buttons and getting room service and all the rest of it. Not at all.
If prison is so comfortable, then why did we have 40,000 recorded, that's probably the tip of the iceberg, incidences of self-harm Mum, 119 suicides last year, the highest number since 1978. Prison officers have been cut by a quarter. Now, when you talk about alcohol and other things being smuggled into prison, the real issue here is that we're not spending the money on our prisons to have them safe and secure. And most prisoners are not being rehabilitated. Education in prison is at an all-time low in the last 3 decades. So the things that would meaningfully rehabilitate prisoners are not happening. The things that should keep them safe, because even though we all agree prison is about punishment, I would be really amazed if any of you, even Carol, thinks that it's okay for prisoners to be so depressed and uncared for that they're self-harming or attempting suicide.
Do you know what I really care about? I think if I was a victim of one of these guys in this prison, if I had been raped by them or beaten up by them, or if someone I loved had been killed by one of them, I would be incandescent with rage. More time and effort is spent on these men, on the criminals, than is spent on the victims. You know, someone who has been hurt by one of these people sees this, they hear that they have phones, that they have iPads, that they're buying luxuries in prison, they're able to order their meals whenever they want. I would be horrified. More time is spent on these people than on the victims of crime. And you're talking about courses and rehabilitation stuff. There are lots of courses for prisoners. There's not that many things around out there for the victims of crime.
It's a zero-sum game. I'm not saying we should ignore victims of crime and give prisoners luxury.
Well, you've not mentioned a victim once in all of this. You're talking about how sorry you feel for the prisoners.
These prisoners are going to be released into society where if they're not rehabilitated, there will be more victims, Carol, and we all care about
the person, without being in any way rude, but the person clearly is closest to us, I would suggest, out of the 5 of us, is Michelle from her former life. If your former boyfriend or his brother or sister, if life in jail had been tough, and I don't mean brutal, I don't mean anything illegal, but, you know, you get up at 6 in the morning and you, I don't know, mop out the loos or whatever it might be. Do you think that might have had any effect? Or what effect might that have...
My ex-boyfriend loved it, because he used to, I'm not even kidding, when he used to get sent to prison, and more fool me...
And do you mind what I ask what sort of offences?
A variety of different things.
Theft.
He's been in and out of prisons more times than I've had hot dinners, but for him, he used to say, listen, he gets bulked up, he used to go to the gym every single day because he couldn't afford a gym membership when he was out. So he used to go to the gym every single day, he used to eat well, he used to hang out with all of his mates during the social time. He genuinely had no problem being in that institution.
That's a problem too. I mean, clearly our prisons are not working. Just look at recidivism rates. You look at the amount of reoffending, and you look at the fact that 47% of prisoners have no qualifications and a third have learning difficulties. Something's going wrong.
Life should not be comfortable. But life should not be comfortable.
I've worked in prisons, Carol, and my experience, I'm not in any way negating Michelle's experience, but my experience of spending time in prison, with prisoners, they are not
You've just heard her say that he had a better life inside probably than he had outside.
I was his girlfriend on the outside, so I probably wanted to get away from it.
It was where he got his respite from. He went. But I think we have to allow the prison authorities to explain why they're doing this. And the facts are the prison population has doubled, and prisons are twice as crowded as they used to be since just as recently as 1993. And what they are saying is that this is the statement from a prison service spokeswoman. She says, we're committed to improving prison safety, and we know that giving offenders phones in their cells with strict security measures and pre-approved phone numbers reduces violence and lowers self-harm. It also frees up prison officers to spend more time on the front line keeping prisons secure. Now,
and what she didn't say was when they get the phones and they're on those
they're pre-planned. They've got pre-logged numbers.
But when they're on the phones and they're in their cells, and this was a bit of research that was done recently, they actually don't do the work that they're supposed to do in prison. They just spend all day in the cell on the phone.
Well, when I hear that, I can't help but wonder if this, you know, what you're talking about, giving them access to this technology, is really about the fact that prisons are massively understaffed.
Of course, it's management.
It's not designed to make prisoners' lives better or more luxurious. It's to save money, because prisons are not being funded properly, and that is the real issue here. We have the highest rates of imprisonment in Europe, and it's not working.
The word discipline would sort all this out, rather than... and again, fairly implemented discipline. I don't mean anything illegal, but going back to... And what I can't work out is we so regularly cull people from our armed forces who are men and women who understand discipline, who understand giving orders, who understand how to take orders, and we're crying out for people to join the prison service. Why don't we make the hook that at least they could be offered the opportunity, providing they pass the relevant tests, and just get a degree of discipline, again, fairly implemented? Then you won't need these damn laptops. Then you won't get the booze that we've heard about. You won't get the laptops.
And bring back national service.
No,
do you know what percentage of...
You see, that's a typical liberal reaction.
Do you know what percentage of people in the criminal justice system?
I'm in favour of it. I think it's a great idea. Of course I do. I'd love it.